Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it is Your Impact Attack. And tonight, the VBC proudly brings to you a review of a random episode of Impact. What's up, everybody? The V is here. Hello, I'm Jamie Williams. My tag team partner is here. I'm tagging him through the internet. Boom. Here's the B, Brandon. Brandon, what's up?
Hi guys! Wow,
And
what a uh,
go
what a
ahead.
weekend for wrestling.
Yes. What a weekend indeed. Um, well, we've got another group of people that suffered through a weekend of wrestling, and they are the C. The C is with us. It wouldn't be the same without the C. So who's the C of the VBC here tonight as we file in slowly, taking their seats?
Let's see who we got coming in so far. We got Canada Spaceman, we got Liz, we got G-Ball. How you guys doing? Whoop whoop, always a pleasure seeing you.
Interesting. I suspect that some other people will file in as time goes on. I'm sure there were some Raw watch along regulars that were watching along as regularly.
Yeah,
Any
we got lucky tonight. We had a no commercial first hour.
Oh, so you got even more Raw. Supposedly there was an announcement that until it goes to Netflix and maybe after, that Raw is going to be 2 hours again.
I did not catch all the details of that. Michael Buffer was kind of stepping in for a little bit, so I didn't get to catch all the details of that part.
Well, yep, I guess that's a thing. So there you go. This is because they signed some sort of extension or something to stay on USA. Because for somewhat whatever odd reason they negotiated with Netflix to start in January. Which, like, why does that matter? They should have started when the contract ran out.
Okay, so it's kind of okay. So it's like an extended deal with USA, but it's getting reduced to 2 hours. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. I mean, it doesn't make sense to USA depending on the advertiser money, but whatever. I wonder what USA will put in its place, like, once it's gone. I mean, they get SmackDown, but that's Friday. Could it be Monday Night SmackDown? They compete with themselves on Netflix? That'd be funny.
Ooh, what if it was NXT?
Well, NXT's got its own deal because they're going to the CW even before, and that's going to be on October something or other.
So there's a very brief window where Raw, SmackDown, and NXT will be on USA at the same time. Very brief window.
Brief. Yep, that's true. Yeah, Liz says just more Law and Order. You know, they'll probably. I mean, but that's not sustainable for long. They need the prime time. The prime time. We have already discussed this at great length in multiple AEW related shows that we've done here at HMG. I've explained how, like, you can't, like, a lot of people, like major networks, are not looking to run reruns of stuff in prime time unless they absolutely have to. People have joked that they'll just put Andy Griffith on from 8 to 10 and it would do better ratings than AEW, which it might, but no one's gonna buy the ad space for that. So
yeah, Andy Griffith. Anyway, something like that'd be more like an afternoon syndicated. Hey, we need to fill time during this when nobody's watching.
right. But hey, when you get people commenting on stuff they don't really understand, well, that's also just welcome to the internet. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. In the first commercial hour of Raw, did anything exciting or interesting happen? Did they take really good advantage of their time?
We had a pretty decent intergender hardcore match between the Wyatt Six and Team America.
Fuck
Nikki
yeah.
looked pretty good. Other than that, it wasn't. Other than that, it was more of the stuff of, like, if you're a TV viewer, it ain't really hooking you, but if you're there live in the crowd watching it, you're having a good time.
I guess that's all we can really hope for. I think that's, well, I'm of the philosophy that the important thing for TV is that you capture the crowd having a good time. That way it makes it feel like when it comes to your town, you got to go. That's the point. The whole point.
And it can kind of seep through your TV a little bit. You can kind of catch some of those vibes and start feeling a little bit yourself.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's one of the big disagreements. I have a lot of philosophical disagreements with the founder of Channel Attitude about what wrestling is. With all due respect to everything that Vince Russo has accomplished and done in wrestling, I'm not taking away any of that, but I'm just saying that you can have a job to do and you need to do your job, but at the same time you also have to understand all aspects of your job. And we've all had jobs that we've gotten that maybe we were less than qualified for at the time, and we had to do a lot of on the job training and get up to speed from people that were more experienced at doing the job. And it's one of those things where when they talk about, like he and Ben talk about like the local crowds and how whenever they do stuff for the local crowd, like about local sports teams or stuff like that he's like, they'll say like, this is a national TV show and who cares about, such and such a city or whatever. It's like, well, the people there care and the people at home don't mind. I don't think anybody's offended that they're concentrating on the city they're in. That's kind of the point of going to a city. And it's like we forget that sometimes. This is a touring attraction and you're trying to capture the vibe to get people to come in here. That's the entire point of the TV show.
Yeah, it's like a band on tour. Every city they go to, what's up? Insert city here.
Yeah. Now, for Vince Russo's part, he wants to write an entertaining TV show, but you can do both things. You can write an entertaining TV show. You can format an entertaining TV show, but you can also tailor the TV show to where you are. I mean, most television shows, if you want to compare it to a television show, most television shows don't tour. You know what I mean? Like if you're watching an episode of a sitcom where the whole thing takes place in some family's house, they don't move the house from city to city. It's not the same. It's not a one-to-one comparison. So it's good to know that WWE seems to have captured that, that atmosphere of excitement where the crowd wants to go and sing and everything.
Right. It's not like, okay, this episode of Friends takes place in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah, where New York is a main part of the show. New York's a character in the show, but let's move it out. So anyway, so that's what's going on Raw.
Definitely not Swerve's house. It's pile of ash right now.
Yeah. Well, not his real house. Only his childhood home that he had just purchased hours before Hangman found it and burned it to the ground. Only that. He's still got his normal house. Don't worry. He'll be all right. He doesn't have to pull up a pillow and blanket to a pile of ashes. This is good.
Hi guys.
Yeah. Let's see what else. What else can we talk about in wrestling? Well, let's that's a good transition. Let's segue to All Out. You did a All Out watch along, pal. What were your impressions of this monumentous event that came 2 weeks after another monumentous event?
Well, as far as best matches go, I thought Statlander and Willow Nightingale had the best match of the night. The problem was that it was in a show where everybody was bleeding and there were a bunch of weapons, so it didn't really have the ability to stand out. But in a way, in its own way, it kind of did, because I think they had a lot more personal backstory and build behind it to make it more personal.
Yes, that build has been much longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But then that also means, like, to your point, that they could have put that on any other show where it could have been the highlight.
Exactly.
And not only that, if you're building to your main event, which is not sanctioned technically, if you're doing all that, there was a lot of stuff on that show that maybe, like you said, Jimmy said it was almost like a ECW hardcore reunion show or something. What do you think about that?
I'm pretty sure we never saw hypodermic needles, cinder blocks, and that kind of stuff on an ECW show.
let alone in one match. But yeah, and then also right before that, like immediately before that, you have a attempted plastic bag suffocation. So
Yeah, well, it's like that scene from Child's Play 2 when he choked that dude out in his car and or suffocated that dude in his car.
mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure there will be no consequences for any of this stuff. It's all just part of the whatever. Yeah, Piers Austin. Good day to Pierce. Love you, Pierce. Saying catering to deathmatch, unprofessional wrestling. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not gonna get hot again. I'm not gonna get hot again. I don't have any muffins nearby. There's really just no reason to get too worked up again. We got other things that we could talk about. But was there anything else you wanted to add about the show or any of the performers or anything in wrestling really?
Oof. Vince McMahon documentary should be fun.
Fun is an interesting choice of words. Yeah, well, we'll all be able to watch that, coinciding with the just a nice lead in to Raw's debut on Netflix. So, and we kind of all know what that's going to be.
And plus, Conrad's already stooged it off as basically a complete hit piece.
Right. Yep. And as well as should be, because we've talked about these kind of things in the past, but it's sad that like all the people over the many years that have come forward with their stories and the
well, we got some breaking news here. It's the first I'm hearing about this. Giselle Shaw got released.
Yes. I've not confirmed this piece of news, but I heard this. So apparently we can.
Although as soon as I saw D'Amore open up Maple Leaf Wrestling, it's kind of like, okay, writing's on the wall with that. That was kind of my feeling as soon as I saw that.
Yep. That's a big part of it. I'm sure there's a there's a spot on the show where that makes it even more clear. And we'll talk about that when we get to it, of course.
It kind of feels like, it's starting to feel like Heather Reckless is kind of the replacement.
Yeah, I guess. I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but yeah. Let's see. So I was talking about something. Vince McMahon. Yeah, who cares? I was just gonna say that like everybody can come up with all these stories indicting Vince McMahon over the past 40 some years or whatever, talking about everything he's done, but no one's gonna care until they watch a Netflix documentary, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I never knew all this bad stuff about Vince McMahon. I do hate him now." Like, whatever it takes. Better late than never, as Cheech Marin would say. If this is what it takes for you to finally believe everything everybody's been saying this whole time, including me, then okay, sure. Don't listen to me. Listen to the documentary. I don't care. Whatever it takes. Let's just put a stake in the heart once and for all. I should mention, because I just learned about this a couple hours ago, that we lost James Earl Jones today. And my God. This doesn't sting as badly because James Earl Jones was not as like public in recent years.
Oh, sorry. I hate to step in. So yeah, apparently Giselle Shaw requested the release and was granted it.
Okay. So moving on to James Earl Jones.
Sorry.
Yeah, one of the greatest actors who ever lived. If you guys only know him as the voice of Darth Vader, or if you guys only know him as the voice of Mufasa, or if you guys only know him as the voice of CNN, or anybody else from that Simpsons gag, if you only know him from, you know, movies like Coming to America, or whatever like that, or Conan the Barbarian, this man is an accomplished actor. He did Broadway before even movies and things. And he also was, doing that in the last, the majority of the last part of his career. He kind of went back to the stage, which is why we didn't really see him that much on, movies and TV like he used to, because he was older. He was in his, 70s and 80s. It wasn't the same. There weren't as many parts for a 70 or 80-year-old man, but he would still reprise the voice of Darth Vader, a couple of times. And he's also signed a contract so that he can be Darth Vader, forever, because they can use the technology to pull from all of his Darth Vader recordings to make new dialogue and stuff like that. So he'll always be Darth Vader. There can't be another one. So they might as well do that. This is one of the times when I will approve of, that kind of technology. And apparently he did too. So that's good. But yeah, there's no way we can encompass this legendary man's career in just a few short, sentences or minutes or whatever it is. And also one of the few people to win the EGOT, for all you fans of 30 Rock. That's the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony Awards. And they gave him I think the Oscar was like one of those lifetime honorary Oscars, but he probably should have won it for multiple things over the years.
Right. You couldn't say he didn't. You could not say he didn't earn that.
Yeah, he should. I'm quite sure if I looked up all the times he was nominated, he should have probably won most of them. But yeah, man, stage actor, movie actor, voice actor. He's truly like one of the most, like, probably, if anybody wants to say that James Earl Jones has the most iconic voice of all time, I don't think there's going to be too many arguments. Like, there's just really not. So if you can do anything in this world that like stands out as like the best in your field, or the most memorable, or that reach the most people, like, then you truly were somebody on this planet. So James Earl Jones is definitely that. Do you have any particular favorite James Earl Jones memories or stories or parts?
First one that always comes to mind, and will always come to mind for me, Sandlot.
Ah, yes. Sandlot. What a great cameo, Just a cameo, but it's like, it was a cameo, but it was your first thing that came to mind because it was so memorable.
It was the first time I saw him.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah, so many good things. So many good things. The even playing like legendary parts and stuff, like playing Othello, or uh Jack Johnson in The Great White Hope. Liz says James Earl Jones and Morgan Freeman were the guys I always wanted to narrate my life. Everything sounds better with one of those guys narrating it, right? So yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good, James Earl Jones. Thank you very much. What else can we talk about? What else is there? Oh, I know. We have another question from our good friend Chris Winland. And this stems from a sort of a comment he made, and me answering the comment on the air. But we can now elaborate on this a little bit. So Chris Winland says, because because he was saying that Obafemi is in need of like a manager or something. That's his contention. And he says Mr. Perfect and Flair had Heenan, Demolition had Fuji. These wrestlers could talk on their own, yet had someone guide them to the top. Obafemi could use such in a big way. Please discuss the role of managers slash valets. Well, would you like to begin, or?
I've always felt the best manager wrestler combos were the ones where the managers were the one they managed guys who could talk, but they didn't need to. Like the managers did most of the talking for him, but then it was like, okay, they gave the exclamation point at the end of the promo.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is definitely a good use of a manager. The prevailing theory over the years has seemed to be that when somebody can't do the talking, you give them somebody that can, because my goodness, we have this great human specimen, but damn it, he just can't put two words together. So here we have a guy that can do that. So now we get the best of both worlds. At some point, that became just the way that fans think of what managers' jobs are. You know,
or you can go back to Macho Man and Liz. Liz never said a word for Macho. She just walked with him to the ring.
Right. Well, okay. So
well,
perhaps
she was also involved in stories and angles, but she didn't really talk much. Macho did all the talking.
Right. So let's get to the heart of the actual. Discuss the roles of managers and valets. Okay, well, a valet is exactly a valet. It's somebody to accompany you to the ring. Arm candy, basically. That's generally what
Triple
the valet
H's gimmick
is.
when he first started.
Right. Or if you want to go back to Gorgeous George, probably the one to popularize this idea. But, and I'm not talking about WCW Gorgeous George. I forget what Gorgeous George's valet was right now. Because I'm in the midst of another train of thought. So if you guys want to post that in the chat to remind me, that's great. But that's where a lot of traditional pro wrestling gimmickry begins, is with Gorgeous George. Okay, so going all the way back to that, having a guy that people thought was of a certain persuasion, but had a woman out there with him to add the sort of ambiguous question, is kind of like that. That's like the genesis of modern wrestling gimmickry. Now that's what a valet is. Somebody to be out there doing that. Like, and of course that can evolve into them getting involved in matches, helping to cheat, whatever the deal is. But a manager, if you're looking at this in terms of like a sport, which at one time we used to, before we were fucking stabbing each other in the mouths with hypodermic needles, is supposed to be a literal manager. The same way any talent has a manager.
Like they actually handle their business dealings, well, in storyline at least.
Right. Frenchy Bernard, Liz says, thank you very much for the valet. And some of these people did. Like, if you listen to stories from some of these old time managers, their job was to manage. Like, they would book the hotels, they would get the rent-a-cars, they would do these things, they would take care of the wrestlers on the road. What do you think Jimmy Hart was doing with Hulk Hogan all that time? Like, it's like
there was business.
Yes. So managers used to actually manage, but it would be a guy that was in the business and oftentimes a former wrestler, or at least trained as a wrestler, or has just been around so long. Like, Jim Cornette didn't go to wrestling school, but he was around so long and learned so many things or whatever. But he's a manager and he managed. Yes, he's out there doing gimmicks and stuff like that during the match and being part of the match. But stuff actually does have to get done in the real world. And he was doing a lot of that. just like so many people have. Now, some of them didn't necessarily take the managing role literally, but a lot of people did. That was the idea. And you go out there with them and you do that. Um, so the role of a manager used to actually be to manage. And at some point, again, like I said, it shifted away from that into just like, oh, this person can't talk, so put somebody with them or put them with somebody. You know, like a Bobby Heenan, to use the example. Well, yeah, he got put with Perfect and he got put with Flair in the WWF, but he also had a bunch of guys like, you know, the uh like Haku, or like Hercules, or like he had people that were in his sort of stable of people.
It's called the Heenan family for a reason.
Right. Slick at that time, another guy that had like people. So I mean, that's where that kind of thing comes from. um and I don't remember Fuji doing a lot of the talking for Demolition either, but that's a former wrestler who turned manager, and could still get in there and mix it up every once in a while before he became, too old to do that.
Ooh, actually, I just remembered. Here's a good modern example. Prince Nana with Swerve.
Right. Right. Now, I don't think that Nana has to book Swerve's rent-a-cars these days, but he's out there enhancing the presentation for whatever reason. Like, I don't know how it came about or whatever, doesn't matter.
It just came together, it clicked, it worked, and they went with it.
Right. I could argue that to the detriment of Swerve somewhat himself, because more people are excited to see the dance than they actually care about the guy.
Yeah, it does kind of pigeonhole him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it kind of looks silly when you're doing that on the way down to an unsanctioned match where, you're going to try to kill a man. Maybe dancing isn't necessarily the vibe you want to set.
Well, but to be fair though, if Swerve's character was kind of sadistic, kind of like as in Mr. Blondish from, say, Pulp Fiction, well, yeah, having a guy behind you dancing while you're committing acts of violence on somebody ain't too far out of the question.
Maybe it's not, but we need to realize we're not working with the subtleties of film, right? No matter how much you think you are with your cinematic bullshit. This isn't really about Swerve. We're just talking about the role of the managers and the valets. The valets are usually like somebody that, they would tend to be somebody's wife or something in the business. And it was just a way of like them being able to spend time together on the road, I mean, you brought up Elizabeth for the Macho Man and stuff. So whenever he wasn't locking her in the closet in the back, so that nobody would talk to her, then he would open the door and bring her out so she could go out to the ring so he could keep an eye on her at all times, right? That's a perfectly normal and healthy thing to do in a relationship. You look like you want to say something.
Yeah, that is kind of possessive and controlling, but at the same time, though, how much of that is Randy kind of understanding the wrestling business, knowing the boys, knowing the locker room, being like, okay, I want to bring her with me, but I want to try to keep her away from the rest of the business as possible. Just, all right, bring her out, goes to the back, doesn't interact with anybody. I can see that.
Yeah, I understand it, but no one's gonna,
But at the same time, that does come across very as unhinged.
Right. Well, the fans didn't know that. They just assumed that whatever they assume doesn't matter. But that's a valet, somebody that doesn't really, to the degree they could barely do anything. I mean, Liz couldn't talk at all. Like, she can't even talk in real life probably. And so she was just out there just because Randy didn't want to take his eyes off her. So it worked out. He worked it in. But she couldn't do anything. She couldn't take any bumps. She couldn't really get involved much. Yeah. So that's an example of valet. A manager manages, that's what originally started out. Now, the role of a manager today seems to be largely non-existent. I mean, we have some, but they're more just like, now it just seems like, oh, here's another person we have to pay. And that's why you don't see it as much. You got Paul Heyman, but Paul Heyman is from the generation of, guys that used to manage. Like, he's of that time. So,
Homie had his own stable.
yes. I mean, you had the Dangerous Alliance, but that's the thing. Paul Heyman's from that previous era. If you're talking about a guy, that you want to put with a talent now, um, I don't know that. I think it's on a case by case basis. And I think that Paul Heyman influence on Roman Reigns' career has been much, much more largely in terms of the creative and behind the scenes that most people won't see than just to him come out there and hold up a championship belt or Ula Fala or any of the other great things that he does to enhance the presentation of Roman Reigns. But he's had more of a significant impact on behind the scenes Roman Reigns' career. And that's because he knows from all of his experience in the business leading up to these days, how best to get somebody over. But simply to take a guy and say, "Hey, you're a manager." I don't know that it works 100% these days. Like, somebody that covers NXT and somebody like Robert Stone, right? Or he used to be Robbie E, bro. He's been there, and no offense to the guy, he's been stealing a paycheck for however many years he's been at NXT. So I don't know what he contributes to behind the scenes, but just as an on-air talent, they're not using him in any significant way. The most things that they would do is that he'd be a manager, but nobody that he managed would ever win anything. And then they put him with, what's his name? The original Ridge. What they call him? Wayne Bloom's son.
I know who you're talking about. I forgot his name. And they did
Yeah,
the whole thing where they were like, and then they ended up turning babyface.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his gimmick name. I can't believe I forgot it. But that's just where my head's at right now. I can't think. So they put him with that guy, and he got released. I don't know if I'm not going to blame him for that, but I'm just saying, like, it's even people that are considered as managers are not necessarily going to help get somebody over to the degree that they need to be over. So now it's almost just like, well, we don't have anything else for you. You could be a manager, I guess. Like, it's like a last resort. But the WWE is not as interested in that because, again, they're not going to pay you just to stand around if you can't do anything else. Paul Heyman is doing other things besides being out there with Roman Reigns. That's why his on-screen role is not his only job. But I don't know what else Robert Stone does, just as an example. Because we were talking originally about Obafemi, who's in NXT right now. So I'm looking at people that are supposedly managers in NXT. That's the first one that comes to mind. And now all we get from him is sometimes he is sitting around The Rock's daughter's office trying to be an assistant. And it makes for terrible television. And I'm not blaming Robert Stone. I'm just using his name as the situation that I'm talking about. Now, if he's contributing all kinds of things to the backstage production of NXT, like if he's coming up with, if he's producing things, if he's coming up with ideas, if he's working hard behind the scenes, then that's one thing. But if that's the case, he's still not really being a manager then. Because as an on-screen role, they're just not using him. So it's great that you're there helping, but you're not a manager. So they don't think much of your managerial skills, apparently. They've had plenty of time to figure it out. So now I just think that the role of the manager is largely extinct, which is kind of sad because it's not so much because we don't need managers. It's because They went away from managers thanks to a guy that got a Netflix documentary coming out that you can see. So that's really the reason that we're not going to get managers that much anymore. And then there's very few guys like Paul Heyman that were around when managers actually managed and would have the experience to be able to enhance somebody to get somebody over. Even if you want to look at MVP, like they put MVP with the Hurt Business, they put MVP with Omos, and where is everybody? Again, I'm not blaming MVP. Obviously, MVP is great. MVP is, I love MVP. This saddens me to say it, but what I'm saying is they have Omos is off of television forever. Don't know when he's ever going to be back, if ever, and he's probably going to get quietly released. And then because they don't know how to have that guy on TV without him just killing everybody. And then the Hurt Business, the Street Profits are back to being on their own, and they've got their own useless manager, BFAB, a valet. That's BFAB's a valet. Electra Lopez, a valet. They do nothing. They contribute nothing. They don't even get involved in the matches. Good day, sir. It's just that's where we're at now. We got people just standing around collecting money, and after a while, companies like Endeavor are going to be like, well, do we really need to have this like here? And going back to MVP, so Street Profits off on their own with BFAB, the valet. Bobby Lashley not re-signed with the company. Omos off TV.
MVP
and now MVP's gone. So that's your last most effective manager from a bygone era. So if you want to stick somebody with Obafemi, who's it going to be?
Tough call, pal.
Right. And the whole reason I pushed back in the first place to his question was Obafemi cut a hell of a promo. Unfortunately, it was on the NXT No Mercy kickoff show, so like 10 people watched it. So it doesn't, it doesn't really matter. But he's good. Like, he doesn't need anybody to talk for him. That's for sure. But that's why Chris brought up the point, and then you also enhanced the point about having guys like a Heenan and a Flair together, or previously Heenan and Bockwinkel. Bockwinkel definitely didn't need nobody to talk for him. So, but it was a good pairing, it made sense. It felt right. AWA, and then you put a Bobby Heenan with a Ric Flair or a Mr. Perfect. But here's the difference with that. If Bobby Heenan's already established as a manager, right? It makes sense if he's got a stable of people. It makes sense that he sees a new talent come in and he's like, that's my guy. I signed him. Like in the storyline world of the WWF, Bobby Heenan signed Mr. Perfect, not WWF. Bobby Heenan. It's like, I recruited this man to work here for me. It's more like Bobby Heenan's working at WWF, not so much Mr. Perfect. And then he brings Mr. Perfect in. Like, I signed him for the WWF and he works for me now. That's how that kind of shit works. We would have to reestablish that there's a guy like that. And who could fill that role? Probably a few people, but that's all up to the WWE, whoever they want to put in that role.
Really easy one that comes to mind, at least for me. Get me Big Purse, pal, from Sioux City Falls, Iowa. You already got somebody who's got the whole like executive gimmick. Why not repackage it?
Yeah. Well, Big Purse just happens to be the latest person in another piece of news that I was forwarded today. That
she gone?
Well, they moved her off the active roster page into the miscellaneous section of the website. So either she's injured and nobody has talked about it, or maybe she's maybe she's being accused of something that they have to investigate. I don't know. But Liz says she's getting enhanced. I don't know. I thought she already looked like she was enhanced. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering. But that's not going to help. So yeah. The thing about her is she's only been in the business for like 2 years. So she doesn't have that requisite experience that I'm talking about. She's really good for 2 years, but I'm not ready to start using her as a manager, in the sense that Chris Winland is wanting to talk about for Obafemi. There's just very few people experienced enough to be able to get this, to be able to do what is required for that role to get somebody over to help get them to the next level, as he says, to guide them to the top. Ain't nobody guiding anybody anywhere. Not even a guy like Prince Nana, who's got one guy as Swerve, which was going to be there anyway, and then he used to have another group, like with Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony, that seemed to be all but abandoned. So, yeah.
Ooh, Ben Hameen is MJF's manager. That'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting, all right. Camp Space Center says, "Hey Vet, tell us of when Mickey J's talked to you, because you always have new viewers, and I like hearing it." Well, you see, she crossed the room to introduce herself to me. She dropped what she was doing and shook my hand. And in a seductive voice, she said, "Hi, I'm Mickey." It's almost a question. Anyway, enough of that. It's not about me. It's about managers and valets. So I don't know if that long, rambling, incoherent mess at any time even approach anything resembling an actual thought, a coherent thought. Every one of us is now dumber for having listened to it. I award us no points, and may God have mercy on our souls.
On your souls.
Remember when John Cena just took that line that, like, I award you no points and have God mercy on your soul, and just stole it wholesale?
Yep.
It was probably Brian Gewirtz told him to say it. All right. So that's all I got. I guess we could talk about TNA.
I got a ketchup packet. Heinz.
So do they. They got a ketchup packet. Everything that happened at Emergence. Okay, now we know what happened at Emergence. And we're opening with the System, with Masha. This is the first time Masha's come out with them publicly?
No, Masha, yeah, first time publicly as like part, like as with the group.
Yeah, she's just trailing behind, kind of, with her little championship belt. And we got Alicia Edwards in a sparkly neck brace. Now, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know if I've praised Alicia Edwards enough or whatever. I always joke about, mostly what we've done here is joke about how she's so thin because Eddie keeps eating everything. But
it's just good-natured fun. We're just poking fun.
Yeah, that's come on, look, the evidence is right there. We don't even have to say it. But I'm saying this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is a smart. It's a, to go back to just what we were talking about. It's an old manager trick. How long did Bobby Heenan wear a neck brace? Like, that was the thing. Andy Kaufman, even not saying he was a manager, but like, they would do stuff like that. It's like, okay, let's get this over. So she took a shoot injury, right? And rather than just be like, I don't even want to think about that anymore. She's like, let's go with it. Yes, you turn it into the gimmick. You bring out the neck brace, got a little, bedazzle it, make it sparkly, and get yourself over as a heel and get some heat, So that's the kind of stuff that makes me go, yeah, you're, I get it. You're with somebody that's a killer Kowalski. I don't know. Whatever. Um. So So yeah. So they're out there. And then the NBA Jam Tag team is like, we want to reenact our our rematch clause at Victory Road. Moose says he's going to be the 4-time champion. Uh, and then if they win tonight, because he and the JDC are teaming up, and if they win tonight against Joe Hendry and Mike Santana, he's going to make JDC official. Like, he will officially be part of the system if they win. Is it tipping your hand a little bit when JDC is already on the new merch shirt? Is that jumping the gun a bit?
A little bit, yeah. I do want to address what Canada Spaceman said here. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Some of the best heel promos are the ones where they're in the right, they're correct, and they're complete smug douches about it.
All right. Well, if you want to read the comment so that people listening know what he said.
He said Alicia's promo.
I know it's hard because it's Canada Spaceman, though. So
he said Alicia's promo was so good. My contract says I can't compete. I have not been medically cleared, and I still have 30 days to defend my title. So screw you.
Right. Right. And she said all that basically how Alicia Edwards says things. Do you guys want to know something?
Dude, when it comes to those kind of promos, she gets it. Like, it kind of feels like a little bit of Vicky Guerrero-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Love it. Love it. So we are, let's see, I accidentally scrolled my notes down. So, yes. So Spitfire comes out and ruins this whole thing that I was enjoying. They couldn't even get their shit together as a team promo because Danny Luna's in the middle of a sentence and Jody Threat just takes the microwave from her like, you know what, I'll do it. It's like, what am I watching? This went off the rails. I can only imagine what it looked like before they edited it. But anyway, basically they're just saying like, you know, Lish is saying they don't even deserve a rematch. They've already beat them a bunch of times, whatever. So they're like, well, if we lose, then we'll break up. Like, so this is the second time Spitfires put themselves in a situation where they might have to break up on their own. I mean, I don't care. I don't want to see them in a match. It doesn't matter. I'm done with these people.
And plus, we got a new tag team in TNA to replace them. Rosemary and Dark Windy.
That's right. I mean, well, it's heavily hinted at. We're not sure yet. Well, that could be anybody's pillow.
Right, yeah. Who else in wrestling is carrying a giant pillow around?
Don't go look at the indies for the answer to that question.
Oh God. Oh God.
All right, Eric Young is with Gia and no music under. Oh well, before we move on, what'd you think of that opening segment? Because just to reiterate, I liked everything until Spitfire came out.
I'm about to say the exact same thing. That's pretty much where I'm at. Everything was good up until Spitfire stuff.
Okay, sorry, Spitfire. I'm just telling you. You know, it's okay. I get it. You go to the gym. You know, but we already have a Jordan Grace, so.
And she's plowing through everybody on both rosters, so.
Yeah, so don't worry too much about your PB on your squats. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you're getting plenty of advice. You're doing good.
That's right. So anyway, Eric Young with Gia, no music underneath. He says he has Burt Macklin's back out of respect. They respect each other. We're trying this whole Burt Macklin babyface thing again, I guess. Just so he can turn on somebody. Or, shocking, Eric Young will turn on something. Whatever, it's going to be a turn. It's not like they're going to go with, no one wants to see this bullshit.
Yeah, it's not a question of if the swerve's going to happen, it's where's it going to come from.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so fucking done with Eric Young and all this fucking shit. I've given this guy a 20-year grace period, and he's out there, taking ridiculous bumps and trying to kill himself and Frankie Kazarian, and he's dressing like Doctor Doom and playing that slow ass white person singing music for all of his vignettes and his entrance music. I'm just sick of it. I'm done with him.
Yeah, he does need he doesn't need a fresh painted coat, if from what I've understand, or for I agree.
Yeah, just fresh painted coat. All right, we give an on cam to the announcing team just so they could talk about JBL whispering. Okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm not gonna, I'm not trying to bury it, but I am calling it out. They don't usually do stuff like this. They usually go to the announcers table when they're telling you about the, what matches are coming up later on the show.
Here's what's coming next. Here's what's coming next week. Here's our card for our next pay-per-view.
Yeah. Not like, hey, did you see JBL whispering at Emergence? Wow. So get the fucking camera off of this. All right. So our next match is, it was going to be Kushida versus Laredo Kid. And then Josh Alexander crashes the party. And just tries to take them both out. And he gives a C4 to Laredo Kid and beats up Kushida a bit. And then Kushida, as he's leaving, grabs the mic and is like, hey, get back here. I want one-on-one right now. And then he chases Josh down. And then the announcers are like, well, I guess Santino has made it official that this is a one-on-one match now. I don't remember if did the announcer say it or did Jade announce it? I forget.
I want to say the announcers got buzzed they got like the buzz like, hey, Santino Morales officially made this match happen.
Yeah. So so they do this, which, okay, so I like the idea that you interrupt somebody's match and that they come out and they they want to get back on you, like you're not getting away with this. So there was aspects of this that I like, but then on the other hand, it's another time where wrestlers make a spontaneous match. I would be willing to forgive it in this instance because there was a scheduled match that got interrupted. However, I guess Laredo Kid is just a big pussy because we don't see him again ever. And you would think that he would have also been upset that Josh Alexander attacked him.
All you had to do something like to put like Laredo Kid on a stretcher. Like he takes a big bump, he gets carted out. That's how you write him off.
Yeah, you could do that. Or you could just not have a match. You could just have like both these guys attack him or whatever. But I understand because they're going to a certain place, which is more important, I think. Anyway, Kushida eventually also gets a C4. And then he gets to the back and he's really selling it. Even though he walked to the back himself. In which we see him walk to the back. Then he collapses backstage. So the camera's back there. We see him fall down on the floor, holding his neck. Joe Hendry comes in to check on him and the referee, and they're calling for some medical attention for Kushida. And then Josh comes through the curtain as they're both there, and he just walks past everybody. And he has words with Hendry. Hendry says, like, I'm not going to forget what you did at Slammiversary to me. And then Josh Alexander just says, good. Well, I like the way they did this, where you see the aftermath of the match immediately, and then you have just the way they actually shoot this, where everybody's on the floor and Josh Alexander comes in and just walks. He looks like a big looming shadow over everybody because of the way the lighting is. They didn't have any of the RGB lights here in this section, so it just was probably lit naturally with what they had there. So you see him walk past everybody, and just him just smugly walking past after he won the match did more for his character than anything else that the company has done for him the entire time he's been there. That's including his feuds with Moose and the stuff about like his wife and just all this, with Bully Ray and all that other bullshit that they've done. Just him walking past everybody like a smug asshole is more character development than he's gotten in the past 3 years.
Dude, I'm digging this heel Josh Alexander. Most intriguing and interesting he's been the entire time I've been watching him.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I am gonna just praise this moment. I'll say this was a good moment, but it would have been like it would have been better if the heel turn itself hadn't been such a cliche, and everything. Um, so I like this, but there were aspects of it I didn't like. Like you said, we could have more dispatched, uh, more definitively dispatched Laredo Kid, I guess. But then again, you're already making him look bad. I don't want to make him look worse. Like, it's just, I feel bad for Laredo Kid. Don't you know Laredo Kid almost died? Come on. You don't have to treat him like total shit all the time. But anyway, whatever. So that was that. And then let me tell you something else. Because they go from Josh Alexander saying good, as in, good, I hope you don't forget what I did to you at Slammiversary. Go right from that back to the entranceway, and Jordan Grace makes her entrance. So
when did we see her walk? When did we see her walk by?
Right, that's what I was gonna say. We could that would have done even more for the scene and for Jordan, because if she's on her way to the ring, she could pass by there and also check on Kushida. Then you have an interaction with Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry, interaction with Kushida, whatever, and you see that this is all a flowing, constant environment of like people are passing by backstage. Like, I think that is, to me, if you're asking me, that's the future of wrestling television. Is instead of having all these like individual canned pre-tape backstage segments, show it as a living, breathing environment.
Yes, 100% exactly. I'm with you on that.
And I'm not talking about fucking leaked photos from before Raw that show Randy Orton and Walter standing together. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. But you have it's but more like, extras on a movie set. You have everybody in their places and action, and you roll the cameras and people are talking. You have people talking to each other that would talk to each other, not people that are about to fight. But then you can transition from stuff. Yes, it's more complicated, but God damn it, you guys are making enough money. Quit being lazy. Do something interesting. TNA has been innovative in certain ways in the past like this. Like when they used to do stuff where the voyeuristic camera of like somebody backstage with a camera, like, is filming something they're not supposed to film. The door is cracked open in Hulk Hogan's office as he's sitting at the desk and he's talking to some wrestler, and we got a camera shot of it. I'm hiding around the corner shooting this. Stuff like that. Just, not exactly that. Make it more realistic, but something different that nobody else is doing. What can you do, TNA, that nobody else is doing? Instead of making these fucking half-ass short film cinematic, you're submitting this for your thesis at, NYU Film School or whatever. Instead of doing that, why don't you try doing something innovative that makes sense for the business? Anyway, Jordan Grace. It's time for an open challenge. And we get a surprise visit. There's another member of the Grace family here tonight. It's Ariana Grace. That's right, Ariana Grace. From NXT. And she has her pageant outfit with her Miss NXT sash on. And she is saying that she is the new liaison between NXT and TNA, which is the perfect role as a shoot and a work. It's a perfect gimmick. And her daddy works there, obviously, so we know that. And if you didn't know that, yes, Santino works there, and that's her daddy. So his real name is Santino Grace, just so you know. But yeah. So anyway, she's a new liaison, and the open challenge this week will be, answered by her best friend, which gets her a little emotional, which is also funny because every interaction they have, she's treating her like shit, which is funny. But yes, Karate Carmen's here. All right, Karate Carmen. Carmen Petrovich is here. So Karate Carmen's gonna answer this open challenge, and we get Karate Carmen versus Jordan Grace, and Rosemary's watching in the rafters, like Sting. She's probably not tan enough either. She probably needs to be more tan if she wants to get over.
Seeking and destroying, pal.
That's right. She's watching on. This was well. Let me ask. What did you think of the match?
It was all right. To me, it kind of feels like they're kind of building to Jordan Grace eventually being like, okay, I've kind of gone through the, your lower end NXT. I want your big names.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Anything else?
I mean, it was all right. I mean, it's pretty much the NXT novelty. I thought the more interesting thing was Ariana Grace making an appearance.
I see. Well, as far as the match itself, I am very proud of Karate Carmen. This is the best she's ever looked. And I wonder about that. Why is it the best she ever looked? This is how she's supposed to be in this match, the way she is, using her gimmick, her karate gimmick, actually kicking people, instead of just doing phony wrestling spots like she does in NXT. And she's acting like one of those weird screamy baby faces in NXT where she has to say, come on, all the time and just do a bunch of fake shit. But here she looks serious. All of her stuff looked crisp. She was working her gimmick. She she somewhat dominated the match. Not really, but more so the usual on Jordan Grace. Most of the time she dominates everything. So
and with the karate gimmick, that could kind of work against Jordan Grace. Like you got style wise, that could be kind of
right. Everything about this worked for me. But I just as happy as I was to see not only Carmen out there, getting a more experience in a match, but actually having the best match she's ever had that I've seen televised anyway. I mean, whatever. And her being her best self, it makes me wonder, what the hell are they doing in NXT then? If she's this good, what the hell? So that's the biggest thing I wonder. But Juggernaut Driver in the end, of course, almost out of nowhere. It was almost just, 2 straight minutes of Jordan Grace eating offense and then hitting her finish, which is fine. It could just be it's the I'm sorry, I can just outlast you. even if I can't get a hold of you because you keep kicking me, eventually I'm just gonna grab you and it's over. That's wrestling. That's a wrestling story.
Right, like somebody like Jordan Grace would be like, okay, I'm not going to outstrike this person. They're faster. They're hitting me hard. As soon as they get a chance, hit the finish, go home.
Remember remember Bloodsport? You remember Bloodsport, right?
I never saw it.
God. All right, this podcast is over. We will be back next week after Brandon has seen Bloodsport. Good night, everyone. All right, well, anyway. For the people that have, which I assume is better been every fucking buddy else watching right now, it's a tournament. It's a martial arts tournament where different styles of martial arts are represented, and yeah. Good night, G-Ball. No, don't go anywhere. There's this guy that's like a sumo wrestler type of guy. And there's this other guy that's using some kind of monkey-like martial art where he jumps around and, climbs up on you and hits you with Mongolian chops and all this other stuff, right? So, he dances around the sumo guy for a couple of minutes and the sumo guy can't catch him. And then the minute that he does, it's a bear hug and it's over. That's it. It's a simple story, easy to follow. Everybody knows what's going on without anybody saying a word. They didn't have announcers spelling it out for you. My goodness, there it is, the deadly bear. You know what it is.
Yeah, you see that story playing out right in front of you. Okay, this guy's quicker, more agile. He's going to try to, do what he can to outlast him, outwork, or get around him. But if he fucks up and gets caught, he's done.
Right. So that was basically the story. Karate Carmen's like kick, 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 kick. Oops, driver. Jordan Grace wins. Candace Space says, remember when we cared about Jordan Grace when she started at TNA? It was so cool. How did they F it up? No, I don't remember that. I don't remember ever caring. This match is the most I ever cared because Karate Carmen was in it. And I feel responsible. But anyway, yeah, after the match, lights go out and lights come back on. Jordan Grace is taking a nap in the ring. And there's a pillow in the ring. Dark pillow.
And then they cut immediately to Rosemary in the rafters laughing maniacally. Yeah. So you can...
it's a pillow.
So you can assume that this is part of the alliance between her and Wendy. Wendy.
Dark Wendy. Yes. It was a light pillow, though. Wendy usually has like a black body pillow. This just like a large pillow with a white pillowcase. So maybe TNA fucking it up.
I guess they couldn't afford to dye the pillow sheets.
They couldn't have sent Wendy's pillow with Carmen and Ariana. Here, guys, take this over to TNA when you go over there. We got a spot to do. Too much work. Nope, we'll just get our own pillow on the day of. Go to Bed Bath & Beyond, grab a pillow, and throw it in the ring with Jordan. It would have been funny to be there when the lights were out, because you know how you can still kind of see, and then everybody has their cell phones out trying to see the light. So you would just seen some ringside attendant reach under the ring, grab the pillow, and just toss it in, and then duck back down.
Oh, so yeah, and then Jordan just falls to the mat.
Yeah, she just lays down. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So anyway, seriously, if you guys ever watch a Bloodsport, what the fuck? There's an event called Bloodsport. What do you think it's named after? Everybody go watch Bloodsport, and then you tell me how you could sit here and watch this bullshit wrestling when Bloodsport was already doing pro wrestling back in 1987. YouTube, Brandon. All right. Do you have Amazon Prime?
I do.
I think it's on there. So
check it out. Then.
All right. So ABC's doing their vignette with the cool 90s effects and graphics and everything. And once again, someone walks in and shuts off.
Because they're saved by the...
Yes. They're saved by, well, not First Class, but Coach. Because this is the KC Navarro version. Basically, yada, yada, yada. They say they want to run it back next week. But even though I don't care to recap this that good, I did like it. I like the exchange they had. I like Chris Bay here. Chris Bay was funny. AJ as usual. KC Navarro got his shit in, whatever. It was like, I actually liked it. And even though I think that the effects shutting off as soon as somebody else walks in the frame is comically bad. I mean, what can you do? There's no talking to these people. There's no reasoning with these people, but
yeah, if they're entering the ABC universe, they need to adapt to it.
Yeah, I think so. I just say, just do these for things that are like pre-taped, like 100%. Don't try to tell me it's live, with effects in the frame. Tell me, you re-recorded this. And then if they have to do an interview without it, then let you know that, yes, this is happening right now. This isn't pre-taped. This isn't pre-recorded. This is happening right now. And you don't have the graphics on the border. That's just, I don't know why they, I don't know. We get a mysterious vignette of a lady speaking Chinese. She's coming soon.
More than likely, Xia Li.
Yes. No, it's Xia Li. It's not more than likely. I know her arm and her tattoos. It's definitely her. But the question, what is they going to call her now? Because her real name is, let's see, how would you pronounce this if I was actually speaking Mandarin? Xia Jiao? Jiao Xia? Like, depending on which way you want to pronounce it. But are they going to still call her Xia? Or are they going to let her pronounce her name the way it's actually pronounced? Because that is her real first name. Xia.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. Zhao Zha. Or Zhao Zha. I played a lot of Dynasty Warriors back in the day.
Right. Yeah, well, with your handy dandy pronunciation chart, you can figure out all the different with the particular accents and stuff. But yeah, it's not Zaya. That's a WWE thing. So
Yes, you can.
we'll see what they call it. Yeah, no, you can't. You actually cannot, Candace Spaceman. You cannot call her that. That word is out of date and offensive, just like you. Speaking of offensive, Zachary Wentz is in the ring. And Mike Bailey comes out and he gives him his babyface congratulations. But he wants a rematch at Victory Road. And then the Good Hands interrupt. And then we get an impromptu match. And I'm sure you can figure out who wins the impromptu match.
Good Hands?
Sadly, no.
Damn it.
Well, that happened. What do you guys say about that?
Time filler. That's kind of what this was. Time filler.
Well, at least it didn't take too much time.
And it wasn't the worst thing to watch either.
Okay, good. That was good to know because I totally didn't watch it, so I was just like, all right, All right, Steph DeLander is pushing PCO back in the dressing room. Don't come out. I've requested this Impact Zone time, so coming up next. Then we get a quick NXT recap of Rosemary's antics, and then we get the NYU film school thesis submission, horror category. I watched a lot of, early 2000s, 2010s horror films, and I'm going to make one about Rosemary. So, any thoughts on this?
I thought the placement of it was a little bit weird. Like, we already saw her tonight, and I don't remember. Did she address anything that happened tonight, or her alliance with Wendy at all? I don't 100% remember.
Well, she definitely made hints at Dark Wendy without naming her specifically. But she was commenting on what was kind of going on around that, but I don't know if it put any sort of like a timestamp on before or after that match. I think it was vague enough that it could have been put anywhere, but you still shouldn't have seen this after you already saw her just hanging out.
Yeah, that's really weird placement. You would think like, okay, that vignette would happen before you actually saw her live. So if anything, that would kind of build more hype to what ended up happening later with, the lights on, lights out, and the pillow.
Right. Dark pillow.
Dark my pillow.
Dark my pillow. That's pretty dark. That guy's pretty dark. Steph calls out Matt Qdoba. He comes out. He takes credit for her entire career, and he thinks that gives him all rights to her life. And PCO's not going to have that, so they hit his music and he stumbles out, and then Matt runs away. Canada Spaceman says, might as well read it. I think the vet is very young. I now notice he has solid eyebrows. You get old and hair falls out even on eyebrows. Well, I am only 29 years old, but how many years have I been doing this show? You just now noticed? All right. Anything on Steph and this whole gimmick?
I wish they. I don't. I don't know, man. They got me on this one.
Okay. Got nothing. Well, how about the Hardys? How about the Hardys sitting here just doing a classic wrestling promo to the camera as the Hardys? No broken Hardys, no weird stuff. I mean, he said delete, but he wasn't doing the voice. He was just doing regular Matt Hardy voice. So, Hardy Boys promo.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the delete stuff is kind of like, okay, that's the thing I did before. It's kind of cool. The delete part's kind of cool to keep around, but that's just really about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now the best part of the show, Eric Young.
Give me EY, pal.
Yeah, we need a name for this. What do you call this fucking music where some guy like moans about stuff and slowly, like what's the shorthand for this genre?
I always thought it was called emo.
I think of emo, or
a subgenre of emo, I should say, like a more like
it's like old man emo, maybe. Like if Johnny Cash doesn't record that cover of Hurt, we don't get this. Is that basically what we're saying? Like
country emo,
mumble emo, country emo. When I hear emo, I think of like AFI. I think of like My Chemical Romance. Like I think of bands like that. I don't think of like old people slow singing. I don't really think I don't put those in the same category. Am I wrong?
That's where they are now. That's where they could be. I mean, that was about 20 years ago when that was at its peak.
Yeah. It sucks. I blame Johnny Cash. Anyway, so it's Eric Young versus Jake something.
I will make you hurt.
He sure will. You have no idea, Mr. Cash. And it's not just Eric Young. Like they use this kind of stuff in like movie trailers, like or like video game trailers. There always be like some slow singing cover of like a popular song, right? I'm a Barbie girl. Like they could have used that for like the Barbie movie, In a Barbie world. Yeah, fuck off with all that bullshit. Who listens to that unironically? Like they just put on headphones and just yeah, man.
I am a Barbie girl, and this is a Barbie world. It's my world.
It's my life in this song. Well, it only took Eric Young 4 minutes to beat Jake something. Yes, I looked. But don't worry, everybody don't worry, because Jake something got his heat back. He got his precious heat back after just getting beat by Eric Young in 4 minutes. Don't worry, he popped right back up and beat the shit out of Eric Young. Which, if it was that easy to do, why didn't you just do that in the first place? Burt Macklin makes a save, if anybody's interested.
Yep, and then they shake hands. You go to our next shot to be like, okay, there's no turn. Looks like he's pretty much babyface now.
Until
he's not.
Which guy's gonna turn heel? The guy that's catchphrase is tag 'em, bag 'em, and mayhem for all, or the guy that's dressing like a megalomaniacal dictator who owns his own country and is and has slow old man emo music? It's anybody's guess.
Honestly, if you really look at those two characters and put them together, you'd think Macklin would be the babyface if they actually were against each other.
Yep. Joe Hendry with Gia and no music underneath. Nothing special here, just a generic wrestler promo. So let's not do anything that makes Joe Hendry unique. Hey, when you get to be a top guy like Joe Hendry, you got to stop fooling around with all this joking and songs and other bullshit. You just got to be a regular wrestler now. That's what you got to do. All right, so here's where we find out that Heather Reckless was signed by TNA, and everybody in the world that watched TNA was like, "Who? Who? Oh, wait a minute, who?" Yeah, wait one fucking minute. Yeah, Heather Reckless. You may remember her from such shows as your local indie show and Ring of Honor tapings from AEW and no other things. So, yeah. But I mean, she's all right. You know, there's nothing to complain about yet that I've seen. She's okay. I've seen her a couple times. But anyway, yeah, we have Heather with Gia and no music underneath. But then immediately, before anybody can say anything, here comes Ash by Elegance. She's getting her shit in. Then here comes Giselle Shaw, and she's getting her shit in. And then they get their shit in each other. And, you know, Heather Reckless in the back, like, you know, looking back and forth, like she would have some popcorn if she, you know, if this were a meme. And then, you know, Giselle answers the question of what did the five fingers say to the face?
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Yep. So she slaps the shit out of Ash by Elegance, which is not very elegante. Yeah. And Heather Reckless is just like, oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to work here.
What the fuck did I just sign up for?
Yep.
Can I go back to Tony Khan?
No, you cannot. You're the new Giselle Shaw now. According to one guy that does a Impact podcast. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But yeah. Yeah, I remember, I think it was Liz that told me that Giselle had asked for her release, and they granted her the condition that she put somebody over on her way out, which is like, okay, well, that's normally how things are done. But yes, Maple Leaf Wrestling needs the promoter's girlfriend or wife or whatever it is. I don't even know anymore. All right, so Moose and JDC in your main event versus Joe Hendry and Santana from behind. Santana, he's behind him. He attacks. Vicious attack. Hot start to our main event tag team match. My God, JDC's future with the system is on the line here. Josh Alexander walks out for commentary, by the way. He wants to get an up close and personal look here and lend his expertise to the desk. Brandon, they did something really dumb here. I'm going to quiz you. What did they do wrong at the start of this match?
Do not remember.
Good man. Anytime your answer is I don't remember and I don't care, you get points in my book. Here's what happened. As I already mentioned, Santana jumpstarts this match. Okay, so the baby faces attack from behind, get the jump on the system, yada yada yada. There's schmaz, quick schmaz or whatever. Josh Alexander comes out. They go to picture in picture at some point here. But then after that, they get everybody in the ring and the other two guys get on their apron and then they do tie up headlock.
That's like hitting the reset button in the middle of the match. Oh shit, we fucked up. Let's start over.
Yep. Yeah. 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 Like, once you start fighting, you can't go back to wrestling.
No,
that's the rules.
Yeah, you reach a new plateau. Like you can't regress.
Mm-hmm. But here's what you do: you go jumpstart, baby faces up, whatever. switch it around somehow. I'm not going to book your match for you. Just do your thing, wear whatever. If Josh Alexander can be part of it, that's fine. Like him just walking out causes a distraction. Maybe he starts yelling at Joe Hendry or something like that, and Joe Hendry's not paying attention, and somebody, takes out Joe Hendry, and then they roll him in, and then you just start the heat right there. Boom. Heat, 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 heat. Hot tag, Mike Santana cleans house, yada, yada, yada. But you're basically, if you're jump starting the match, you're skipping over the shine. You're skipping over the technical wrestling opening part. You skip over all the gaga and everything. If you've gone to punching and fighting, especially if the baby faces are doing the jump start from behind, that's their shine. That's their entrance, their shine, their chain wrestling. That's everything right there in one package. And then you go to the heat spot. Heels get over, continue the match. So that's how you do that, guys. It's very elementary. I don't know why you don't know that. Somebody in this group of people should have known that. And if they had a producer helping them put this together, they should have known that. Everybody should have known that. And it's just easier for you. Because then you don't have to restart. You already got... Why does this matter? I know people are probably saying, like, what are you talking about, the vet? Why are you so upset about this thing that nobody cares about? It happened in picture anyway. Well, what did we talk about at the start of the show? We talked about the crowds, how important it is for the live audience and everything like that. So the whole idea of having baby faces do a surprise jump start, you just got the people up. You got the people up. Now they're up with you. They're excited now. Hey, I didn't expect this. I'm into it. Kick their ass, guys. Go get them. Get them, Mike Santana and Joe Hendry, our favorite wrestlers. You spent 10 minutes trying to boo the system out of the building like they were Dominic Mysterio at the start of the show. So we know you don't like the system. So now you cheer these guys in. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody's hot, right? And then you settle down for a headlock and a tie-up? No. Keep it hot.
Heels cut them off dirty and they go right to heat.
Yeah, now they're a different kind of hot. Yeah, get him, boo, fuck you, cheaters, boo, come on, Santana, come on, Hendry. That's what it's supposed to be like.
And you get that hot tag, you go to that next level.
Yes. This is a way to keep the match entirely hot. You don't even have to slow it down if you don't want. You could keep a high-paced match the entire time. You keep this is one of those rare instances where you could actually keep your foot on the gas the whole time. Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but you can do it.
Yeah, it just depends. Yeah, and as the match goes on, you press a little further down, a little further down, a little further down.
Yep. The only low spot in the match, all you got to do, you're getting your heat. You go for something. You have like, you could throw the guy in the corner. Moose could run in, go for a spear. The guy moves. Now they're both down. Now who's going to get to their corner first? Easy. This shit's the easiest shit in the world. I'm sitting here in a fucking room doing a podcast telling you guys how to do your fucking jobs. Come on. It's easy.
And, even though the action is slowed down, the emotional level hasn't, because like, oh shit, he's going to get the tag. He's going to get the tag. He's going to get it. The heat's still there.
It's all there. You could have kept them up the entire time. And then, especially because you're going to have a screw job finish. Because guess what? Josh Alexander gets up off the commentary table. Who could have foreseen this? He gives Joe Hendry I think it was supposed to be a nut shot. I don't know. It looked like he couldn't decide whether it wanted to be a chop block or a nut shot. So he took them both out. He took the knee and the nuts out. And then he posted him. And then he that takes care of Joe Hendry. And then while Mike Santana's getting back in the ring, JDC grabs him by the leg. He shakes him off. Boom. Moose hits a spear. Or Moose catches him coming in with a big pump kick on his way through the ropes. Then he hits him with a spear, pins him 1, 2, 3. There you go. JDC's part of the, heels cheated. Josh Alexander cheated. Boo. Heels cheated. Boo. JDC's part of the system officially, even though he's already on the t-shirt. Boo. Heat. Perfect. Except it wasn't. It was only pretty good. Could have been perfect. Instead, it's pretty good. Do a leg slap for a nut shot. I don't think he did. Like I said, it looked like he was gonna go for a chop block and change his mind at the last second. So he just ended up like hugging Joe Hendry around the upper thigh. It was very weird. If you go back and watch it, I was like, this is awkward, but I'll allow it.
I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. Yeah, so that happened. So you had a potentially perfect match, one of the rare instances. We haven't had a perfect match since Moose versus Kevin Knight way back when. It's like a year ago now.
Yeah, it was about a year ago.
So regardless, whether it's Moose delivering a perfect match or Moose being involved in a match that could have almost been perfect, I think that the key ingredient here is Moose. We can all agree with that. That's right. All right. So anyway, the show ends with Dolph watching all this on his phone. Apparently, they don't have monitors set up back there. They're like, you guys want to see the show? Watch on your phones because this is definitely a live broadcast. And so he's watching on his phone. Then he cuts a promo saying how, which I like this. I like that he said this. Like, he's like, I never beat you, Moose. I wanted to, but I didn't. I didn't get the chance to do that. And now I'm the champ. So now I'm saying to you, like, I'll defend this title at Victory Road and I'll prove that I deserve to be the champ, whatever. So good. They acknowledge that, yes, guess what? I have this title, but I didn't actually beat you. No, that was, every other guy in that match beating him. That stupid 6-man elimination match or whatever. So that's it. That's the show. There you go.
Whoop whoop, yeah, pal.
All right, now besides what we've already done, got any punch-ups?
Oh, we do. And of course, let's kick it off with our catch-up packet.
There it is.
Hold on. I gotta get back to my main screen here.
The main screen.
All right. So yeah, we got our recap catch-up packet. Intro, Pyro, and Ballyhoo go to the announce table, run down card for tonight, talk about recent events, give their thoughts. And we got our in-ring with the system music and enters, the Masha Slam-a-Bitch. I will always call her that because I thought that was one of Santino's best little change-ups there. See, same promo is on the show, but Moose mentions a hit list of TNA wrestlers the system have targeted. Joe Hendry, Nick Nemeth, Mike Santana, and the Hardys. Spitfire music and entrance, same interaction on the show. Leads to brawl with Masha and Spitfire, and Alicia attacks Spitfire with Kendra. We go to the parking lot. Hendry, Nemeth, Santana, and the Hardys arrive. Gia approaches them and mentions the system's hit list. Hendry says they'll just have to take the system out first. We go to our first commercial break. We go backstage to the system's locker room. They watch a replay of Gia talking to Hendry, Nick Nemeth, Santana, and the Hardys. Moose says, well, they'll find the baby faces first. We go backstage to Eric Young and Gia Miller, same as we got on the show. We go to the replay in the commentator's desk of JBL and Emergence. We see the replay of JBL whispering to Nick Nemeth, and they cut to the announce table where the commentators discuss their thoughts. And then match number 1, Kushida versus Laredo Kid. Kushida music and entrance, Laredo Kid music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show with Josh Alexander out for the DQ. Same post matches on the show. But then we go right into match number 2. Kushida versus Josh Alexander. Condensed version of match on the show. And we change the finish. Dark Gresham runs to the ring, and a ref immediately powders to get gloves and a mask. Gresham attacks Kushida and gives him to Josh before walking up the ramp. Josh hits the C4 spike. 1, 2, 3. And then the announcers get the word that someone's been attacked, and they cut to the back We go backstage. Jeff Hardy is found laid out. Announcers mention that the System have scored the first win in tonight's war. And we go to our second commercial break. Backstage, Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, Matt Hardy, and Nick Nemeth. Hendry mentions a plan they came up with that's vaguely discussed before they split up. You go to match number 3, Knockouts Championship Open Challenge, Jordan Grace versus Carmen Petrovich with Ariana Grace. Jordan Grace music and entrance, Ariana Grace music and entrance. Same Ariana promo is on the show. Carmen Petrovich music and entrance, condensed version of the match on the show. Same post matches on the show with, Pillow and Rosemary. We go to Gorilla with Santino, Ariana, and Carmen. Santino approaches Ariana and Carmen and welcomes them to TNA. Carmen excuses herself and says she'll see Ariana in the car. Santino and Ariana do some comedy for a bit, and then Santino gets serious and mentions that he and NXT officials have agreed to make her the official liaison. We go to the pre-tape of ABC and First Class, same as on the show. We go to the Xia Li vignette, same as on the show. Vignette, Rosemary and Dark Wendy. Same as on the show, but with the addition of Wendy, where they basically, changed up a bit, where they explain what just happened rather than, what we saw. Backstage, Eddie Edwards, he's found laid out. We go to our third commercial break. Come backstage with Matt Hardy, and he's found laid out. The System is standing over him. Moose says the Hardys never saw them coming, and neither will Nemeth. Moose says that Hendry and Santana are safe until the main event. You go to our in-ring with Zachary Wentz, Mike Bailey, and the Good Hands. Zachary Wentz, music and entrance. Same promos on the show. Mike Bailey, music and entrance. Same promos on the show. Good Hands, music and entrance. Same promos on the show that ends in physicality. Jade announces Santana's booked the match. Same matches on the show. Wentz and Bailey versus Good Hands. We go to the backstage with PCO and Steph DeLander. Same as on the show. Our fourth commercial break. Go to the in-ring with Steph DeLander, Mike Cardona, PCO. Steph DeLander, music and entrance. Same promos on the show. Matt Cardona, music and entrance. Same promos on the show. PCO, music and entrance. Yeah, basically that whole thing kind of goes the same. Trainer's room with the Hardys. Same promo that we got on the show with them, but they also address them getting jumped by the System. We go backstage to the System's locker room where they're watching the Hardys promo.
On their phone?
What's up?
On their phone?
Well, monitor backstage.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they had monitors backstage. I thought everybody had to watch on their phone, like Dolph.
Okay, where are we at? Okay. Yeah, and then Moose says they'll wait for Nick Nemeth to fall into their trap. Match number 5, Eric Young versus Jake Something. Eric Young, music and entrance. Jake Something, music and entrance. Same match and post matches on the show. Package of Heather Reckless. We go backstage of Gia and Heather Reckless. Same interviews on the show with Ash and Giselle getting involved. A replay of Joe Hendry on NXT. Backstage, Gia and Joe Hendry. Same as on the show with the addition of bringing up how the Hardys got taken out. Hardy mentions... Hendry mentions that the fight isn't over yet. Camera pans back to show Brian Myers laid out behind Joe Hendry. Hendry pokes his head of the room and says, "Thanks, Nick," before he heads to the ring. Fifth commercial break. New Japan hype basically kind of sell okay, they kind of shit on whatever trap the System had set up. Or so they might think. We'll see when we get to the main event. Commercial break number 5, a New Japan hype video. We go to the announce table rundown, current Victory Road card, rundown card for next week. JDC and Moose versus Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. This is where things get changed up a bit. I'm going to pull this over. All right, Moose and JDC, music and entrance. Mike Santana, music and entrance. Joe Hendry, music and entrance. Heavily condensed version of the match on the show, but with no Josh Alexander involved yet. But there is some dirty stuff that happens because, Hardys are taken out. And then post-match, the System beats down on Hendry and Santana. Nemeth runs out to help out. Hardys run out, spear to 76, even though they're all bandaged up and beaten down, they still run out. And it looks like the baby faces are getting up. But then Josh Alexander runs out to help the System. And then we see Josh Alexander standing in unison with them. And we're kind of teasing, is he the new member? Did he join them? We don't know, but he's certainly
It's his face
celebrating
on
with
the
them.
T-shirt. Well, there you go. There was I had to admit that you sort of rewrote what I thought was the best thing on the show, which was the interaction with the way Kushida, Joe Hendry, Josh Alexander, everybody that was in that little backstage part. We kind of lost that, but um, other than that, not much I can add. Oh, and we're not going to condense Carmen Petrovich's match. There's no way that's happening. She gets extra time, actually. She gets an extra minute to kick Jordan Grace. So, and Gam thinks you have a neat room.
Thank you,
There's
Gam.
that. Yeah. It's neat rooms. Yeah. So, well, that's pretty much everything. Canada Spaceman wants us to know that Retro Rocket Review is his channel. We all know that's your channel. Canada Spaceman. You weren't fooling anybody ever, not for a second. And as far as the Maple Leaf Wrestling thing goes, yeah, that same Maple Leaf Wrestling, whatever reason, Scott D'Amore wants to resurrect that, and he's starting it up. So look forward to the return of Maple Leaf Wrestling.
Yeah, pal.
And look forward to the return of the Impact Attack next Monday at the normal time, where we will give you even more coverage and even more punch-ups and even more doing your job for you for TNA. And until then, you can find us at the following places. Brandon?
As always, you can find me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X, at LG Brandon Whoop. Twitch is still under construction, still trying to get that shit figured out, but it's at twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop Whoop. We're also on Substack at HMG Brandon, and of course, catch me probably about 5-6 nights a week here on the HMG YouTube channel doing the watch alongs. Schedule this week's going to be a little bit different. Tomorrow night's going to be a little bit weird. Me and RBV are going to be doing a watch along of the Trump-Harris debate. I'm not sure how he plans on going about it. I'm kind of looking at the whole thing as sarcastic all ways around, looking for any way I can just rip and make fun of on either side, because
They're both
bro.
ridiculous.
And then Wednesday night, we have a late start of the AEW Dynamite watch along. Thursday night, we'll be back for Impact. Friday night, we got SmackDown, and then we'll be doing a late start of Collision on Saturday. Sunday, not sure what we're doing. I'm sure we'll get something figured out.
All right. Lots of activity. How can I G-Ball said, you say RVD? No, the other whole effing show. RBV.
The whole food and show.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, ever since you've adjusted your life to be consuming all this wrestling and everything, how has it changed for the better or the worse? How's your life improved or unimproved?
Dude, in a weird way, it's actually made the wrestling more fun to enjoy. Like, we're not like it's community and everybody coming together and hang out and have a good time. Wrestling's just the backdrop.
That's right. That's right. That's basically the HMG story. So anyway, yeah, if you want to finish the story or continue the story with us, then add Opinion Haver on all social media platforms for me, including Twitch, where just like with wrestling, games are just the backdrop. It's not actually important. The video games aren't important. It's just a way to continue with the community and just hang out and talk about whatever else, or things that we just don't have time to cover on here. Like, the show could get derailed if we talked about all the different topics, so we try to keep it under a certain amount of time. But if I'm on Twitch, then that's a place where people can join in and ask the questions or make the comments they didn't normally get addressed here. So if you have, yes, hashtag Sean Tuesday. We do get HMG merch. That's what we need. We need more HMG merch. We all need our own shirt. But stay tuned with that. We'll probably have announcements before you, even sooner than you might think. But definitely check out the other shows on HMG that I do. If you're interested in more of me, then you can find me on Next Level Wrestling Review every Wednesday with Big Ray Hernandez, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can check out The Wreckage on Sunday with Jimmy. That Wreckage every Sunday with Jimmy T, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Yep. Oh, sausage. Ditke.
How many heart attacks is that this year? That's 24 heart attacks, Bob.
Did you see Brian Piccolo? No, not this time. So you can check out Wrestler Rogers every Friday. Concrete time of whatever, unless it's Thursday, which is concrete, or any other concrete. Not to be confused with the concrete that's embedded in Hangman and Swerve Strickland's spine. That's different concrete. So go to Wrestler Rogers to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you want to check out Stevie Richards' show, he's doing big things. This week's episode was about, what was it about? Come on, brain. It was, he ranked the finishers in order in by level of pain, with A being the most painful finisher or difficult to take, or a D being like you're barely being touched. So that was pretty fascinating look at, for fans that have no idea about wrestling because they don't know. Just like Pat McAfee was saying on a recent episode of his show, the clip that I saw going around where he's saying everything in a wrestling ring hurts, which is true. But if you want to know what Stevie thought was the most painful finishers, go check out that episode. And JTG's wrestling channel, YouTube channel. Go check out JTG. A little light on content recently, so he's probably putting together something for another Q&A, I think was the last thing I heard, taking fan questions. So if you got a question, go submit it. That's it. Next time that this channel will be live will be for I Like It Raw with Big Ray and Jimmy T talking about tonight's episode, the commercial-free Raw. So check that out at its time of 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. And they will see you then. But for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.